to tint or to not tint? We're going to help you decide today.
Dyed is going to be your cheapest option. It's very affordable, and it does a little bit of heat rejection for sure. But you may have to replace it in the future. Metallized is a lot better, but one bad thing about it is that it can interfere with some cellular signals. There is a hybrid between the two. If I were to get either one of those, that's what I would get. You kind of get the best of both worlds, and it's definitely still a lot more affordable. The other thing is going to be carbon tint. It's definitely a little bit higher in mid-tier. It has really great heat rejection properties, and you're going to get a lot out of it too. Ceramic is probably is the most advanced thing out there, or advanced technology out there in the tint community. It has great heat rejection properties, protecting from UV rays and infrared. Crystalline is actually not ceramic. It's a very, very thin layers. They say it's even thinner than a Post-it note. But if you're looking to get something that's still very light and still have massive heat rejection properties, that's really what I would recommend. The main thing that you need to know is VLT, and that stands for visible light transmitted. This is actually darker than this one, right? So this is actually at 50%, and this is at 35%. And what that means is 50% of light can pass through this, and 35% of the light can pass through this. So the lower the number, so if it's like 15, it's going to be very, very dark. If it's 80%, that's very, very light. The other term that you want to know is TSER, and that stands for Total Solar Energy Rejected. And that's something that 3M uses to calculate the overall score of how well it performs as far as rejecting solar energy. Obviously for this, higher the number, the better. UV and IR, that stands for ultraviolet and infrared. The main thing you need to know is they're harmful rays from the sun. So the more rejection you have for those two things, the better. If you want the ultimate protection, I would get everything. You know, the side windows, the rear windshield, the top, a little bit of the front, if it's legal. So if you do have kids, I highly recommend getting the rear windshield done. For most modern vehicles, all windows do come factory tinted. So if you put a meter on the window, it won't be 100%. For example, on this Model 3, it displays an 80% VLT without tint. Our most recommended setup for Model 3 is 35% for all side windows. On the rear windshield, I would put 50%, but that's only because we're in the state of Tennessee. So every state has its own requirements, and that's really important for you to know and for the tint shop to know that. They have very, very clear guidelines on what you can tint, the side front, the side rear, and windshields. If you install something like ceramic, IR, or crystalline, or carbon tint, it's going to last a very long time, typically past the lifetime of your vehicle. They do have a lifetime warranty on them, but if you do install chip tint, it could last a few months to a few years. It just depends on where you are, you know, what kind of heat damage that it has. So if I were to recommend you, definitely pay a little bit more and get a high quality tint. The main reason is it's a very low quality film, and what that means is that adhesive on the side of the film is very weak. And as the sun beats down on it, it loosens up and it starts bubbling up because it starts to loosen its grip on the actual window. It just depends on the area and the location that you're in. So if you're going to a reputable shop with high quality tint like ceramic or crystalline, you're really looking at $400 all the way to $1,200 probably. If you opt in for something like 3M crystalline, I mean, you should expect to spend a lot of money. It costs so much more for even shops like us to buy that, and it's also harder to work with, and typically they require a special training to learn how to use crystalline. And Model 3 just tends to cost a little bit more just because it is difficult as far as the rear windshield. To do it in one piece can be difficult just because of how big the large glass is. Do you do the Tesla Model 3 rear windshield in one piece or two piece? The problem with doing it in two piece is that it's in two pieces. You will see a seam down the middle, and that bothers me personally. Why do they do it in two piece? It's just a lot easier and it's less time consuming. Are you aware of the defroster line being extremely fragile when installing the back window? They just got to be very, very careful when they're cleaning it from the inside. Sometimes they use like a copper brush or like something abrasive, to really clean that because that's the area that is hard to stick. So they clean it that way. But if you do that, you can actually damage that defroster line. And if you break that line, you're actually damaging the whole line. So that's actually a big issue. And it'll cost a lot because you have to replace that. What steps do you take to make sure that all electronics are safe? We typically use something like a soak shield. You put it in the back of the like the trunk area, and this catches all the water. This makes sure that nothing really seeps through the electronics. If they're familiar and they do Teslas all the time, you should have no worries. It's very, very hard to get absolutely perfect install, even if you have the right space and equipment and everything. So unless new innovation happens in the tint industry, we don't plan on coming out with a do-it-yourself option, unfortunately. But if you do want tint, you just have to come see us. So at Test Bros, we offer the 3M line. Personally, I love Ceramic IR. I think it does a great job with heat rejection. But other brands that are very, very popular and repetitive is like Lumar, Expel, Suntech. Those are just some of the few. There are so many out there. And as long as you get their higher quality line, you should be good to go. One thing I like about 3M is that their warranty is very good. It has a lifetime warranty. Protects you from UV rays, infrared. It does reduce sun glare, vehicle appearance, prevents interior from fading, blocks solar energy. And what I mean by that in a Tesla, that's really important because it keeps your car cooler, which means that you use less energy on your AC, which means you use less battery. So you actually end up getting more range. And last of all, it does give you a little bit of privacy. So that's really nice. If that was helpful, please feel free to visit our accessory shop at testbros.com. We have all sorts of products from vinyl coverings, customization, protection, PPF, all sorts of things. And it'll mean the world to us if you subscribe because we're coming out with videos every single week. So we'll see you next time.